With this, I welcome our first distinguished speaker of the day, Professor Vandana Roy ma'am. Professor Vandana Roy ma'am is the chairperson of the Department of Pharmacology at Maulana Azad Medical College, New Delhi. Ma'am has been contributing to academic committees of Medical Council of India and the Diplomate of the National Board of Examinations. She has also been involved in curriculum reforms, creating good educational environments and newer methods in teaching methodology. Ma'am would be enlightening us on the topic ethical dilemma in using AI for research writing. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. I want to thank Dr. Sharik Saeed Neem for having given me this opportunity to come and interact with all of you on an extremely important and relevant topic in the current times. And all of you must be knowing, I mean, it's a very broad-based topic. It's actually a very specific topic, but it's covering a lot of things. It's artificial intelligence in research writing. Ethical dilemma is what I was asked to speak on. And I will try to give you an overview of this topic. I preferred if this topic had been at the end after your sessions about AI and its role in had gone on. But nevertheless, since it's the first talk which is going to lay the ground for your the other sessions in the day, I'll try to see how much of the groundwork can be laid in this talk. All of you must be aware of artificial intelligence. I'm extremely sure about that. The audience, the participants are all young postgraduates and young faculty, and you're actually living in a world surrounded by artificial intelligence devices, techniques, and use in all of our everyday life. Alexa, Siri, talking on the computer with people, getting phone calls, automated phone calls is all part of the artificial intelligence world around us. And it is the buzzword going around these days. But while the buzzword has entered our lives only a few years back, it's been there for more than 3,000 years. And it's written that automata were used for protecting Buddha's relics in India and in the Greek world 3,000 years back. And so it's not very new, but artificial intelligence as we know it actually came into being in the 1950s. No, before that, in 19th century, you have a lot of pictures. I'm also sure most of you have seen those movies, Wizard of Oz, where you have the Heartless Tin, Star Treks, and the Matrix series more recently. They're all part of the AI world, which the science fiction was trying to create, but which is no longer a fictional world. It's very much the reality. But artificial intelligence, as we know it, actually took birth in 1950. I would like to put it 1950, when Alan Turing, a British polymath, mathematician, he thought about the fact that human beings have information and they use the ability to think to solve problems. He said, if human beings can do it, why can't machines? And 1950, he wrote a very, very important paper, Computing Machinery and Intelligence, where he suggested that why can't machines also think, use information, think, analyze to solve problems. 1950 is about 70 years back. Why is it that AI as we know it just has exponentially risen only in the last 2 decades? Well, the reason is that although a lot of people were trying, it wasn't possible. One, because computers were not available in the way we know them. The architecture of the computer could not handle, it did not have so much of architectural and storage capacity as is needed to make AI models run. And using a computer was very expensive. A lease for 1 month would cost $200,000 a month. So it was not affordable for all these people, and we did not have the computer architecture and technology to drive AI forward. So when computer architecture developed, when the cost of using computers decreased exponentially, that's when all three came together: computer architecture, technology, cost, and the geniuses who were always there, the philosophers, the scientists, the mathematicians, to put together and create artificial intelligence in the way we know. And of course, all of you must be knowing about 1997, when IBM's computer Deep Blue, their Deep Blue program defeated the world chess champion Garry Kasparov. And more recently, in 2011, when the IBM computer Watson beat human quiz masters, in their quiz show Jeopardy. So that's, with that background, I'll just begin laying the context that AI has been there for thousands of years. AI, as we know, has just come into being. Why? Because of lack of computer architecture and technology and cost. And now AI is all around us. So we will try over the next 30 minutes to link up artificial intelligence, research, writing, and ethics. Is there an ethics issue involved in this? So very, very simply put, artificial intelligence is an attempt by machines to emulate human intelligence, to perform learning and complex problem solving. And computer system with an ability to model human intelligence in a human-like fashion, which involves visual and speech recognition, language processing, decision-making. Most important, recognition, processing, decision-making, all very higher level functions. Machine learning and deep learning are two terms many of you would have been hearing also. These are subdomains of artificial intelligence. They differ. They actually differ in the complexity of the architectural neural network structure and the algorithms involved in their processing. Basically, AI works in the form of neural networks, which are just nodes. They have been designed. They are mathematical nodes, actually, but they have been designed to mimic the human neural network. And these neural networks are basically trained. They are trained with existential data, which could be textual data, which could be visual data, which could be audio data. So these neural networks are trained with existing data in a supervised or unsupervised manner. And this input data goes through different neural layers. The input layer, the hidden, which is visible, the hidden layers, which could vary in number from anywhere 1 to 2 to as many as you want, as you want, depending on the problem to be solved, and the output layer. Now, when the input data goes through these layers, there are certain weights attached which determine how much of the input is going to go into the next hidden layer. And before the total output, there is something known as a bias, which will determine at what threshold the output is going to come out. And the output data which comes out, you see what is the predicted output data that you're getting, and you compare it with the actual output data that you expect it to be. You try to decrease the difference between the actual and the predicted output data to as much as possible. And how do you do that? You do that by controlling the weights and the bias which is needed to get your final output data. Now, I'm just telling you this so that you understand. You have some idea as to how the AI tools which are in use are made. And you need this very basic understanding to know where the AI tool is compromised, where it can help you. That's the only reason why I'm just telling you this. So there can be a difference between what the output value should be and what the program, the machine learning process is actually giving you. And what is done to streamline this, that output data is put back in to retrain the neural network, output comes out, and you go on decreasing the output till it meets the difference between the predicted and the actual is decreased to an acceptable level. So that's the basic structure of how AI models work. Okay. It's a complex process. It's a mathematical process. And so machine learning is an application of AI, enables systems to improve from experience without being explicitly programmed. After the initial training, it uses algorithms and data to imitate the way humans learn. So the way the machine is learning, the tool is learning is based very much on the quality of the data that is being put in to train the machine. Please remember, the tool that you use, it's, the quality of the output is going to be dependent on the quality of the data on which it has been trained. And this, and the whole process of AI is based on models, it's all based on modeling. So just to give you a picture of the complexity involved in these AI models, you're not going to be doing it when you use AI tools in medical writing, but you need to understand what has gone into making those tools. So it's highly complex, based on algorithms, based on hardcore mathematics and science. And there are different kinds of neural networks. It all depends on what output you want, what the complexity of the task for which the tool is being made. So AI tools are based on models. So there would be a bias, there would be shortcomings. It's not going to be foolproof. A model is part of a whole. It is subtracted from reality. It's extremely critical to understand that all AI and machine learning models have limitations. Please remember that at the end of the day, we are building models to understand reality. This is a very, very important statement. Building models to understand reality. So, no model is going to be foolproof, is what you have to understand. And you are already familiar with the role of AI in healthcare. It's being used for many years now in medical diagnosis, digital health, medical devices, drug discovery and development. And the topic of the talk, the workshop today, scientific writing, editing, and publishing. So we'll focus on the third part now, medical writing. Now, what is medical writing? What are the kinds of medical writing? And why is medical writing important? We as doctors, as students of science, think of medical writing. Our exposure to medical writing is, it comprises, our world comprises of writing papers, presentations, research protocols, but medical writing is a very, very big world. So medical writing is the development and production of a print or digital documents, specifically with medicine or healthcare. To do so, you need knowledge in writing as well as science. And medical writing combines a writer's creative talent with the rigor and detailing of research and the scientific process. It's a combination of the writer's creative talent along with the rigor of detailed research and all that it involves. So medical writing is of different types: medical journalism, education, marketing of healthcare products, regulatory documents, research documents, publications, and presentations. And I understand specifically the focus, because the topic has research writing, would be on research documents, publications, and presentations, the use of tools. But these are all types of medical writing. And look at the importance of medical writing. The medical writing, it's a huge market. It's a global market, which is increasing very, very phenomenally. It was about 3.5 billion in 2022. It's about 6.95 billion, expected to grow to 6.95 billion in the next 5 years at a compounded annual growth rate of 10.4%. It's a huge market. And this growth in medical writing is driven by a 35% rise in global pharma R&D spend and a 20% rise in clinical trials in the last 5 years. So what is driving this medical writing market is the increase in the R&D and the clinical trials which are taking place globally. And whenever there is a market, tools will always develop, because why are the tools developing? One, of course, man's curiosity. But a bigger reason is there is a market. There is a way of profiting from it. So people get into research, get into making tools, and you profit out of it. Regulatory writing comprises of 60% of the market share, and the others, publications, communication, safety writing, about 40% of this market share. So regulatory writing is what is driving the medical writing market. Medical writing is also the fourth most frequently outsourced profession. And actually, it's a full-time profession. So many of you might eventually go into medical writing as a profession. You just never know. Just to show you, this is a graph of the US medical writing market, how phenomenally it's growing. So there's millions of dollars involved, and of course, the global market is in billions. Now, what are the attributes of medical writing? As what we know, it should be concise, clear, understandable to the audience it's meant for, scientific, ethical, and true. Whatever you're writing in medical writing must fulfill these attributes. So what are the tools for medical writing? Now, when I was a postgraduate and when I began my medical journey, we didn't have, in fact, the first PC that I owned was, I had already, I think, I was halfway through my senior residency. So that's when the ABC of learning of computers began in my life. Of course, that's quite some years back now. But just to tell you, so we used to write our papers on our own. We used to go to National Medical Library to look for references, photocopy articles if it was allowed, or sit and write everything by hand, manually type, and send them for publication through airway or sea mail. So our paper used to take 6 months to reach the journal headquarters, another 6 months for the comments to come back, another 6 months for the draft to go. So when I began my life, easily a year and a half or 2 years would go before your paper got accepted or rejected in an international journal. So that's the life story of how we began. But then in the early 1990s, we got computers and laptops, and MS Office came. So we could start typing. Word processing tools became available. And what did we get? We got MS Office, where we could use spell check, paragraph formatting, punctuation, and Excel, where, it started helping us in our calculations, tables, and graphs. Till then, we only had a manual calculator or a calculator for statistical calculations, a more sophisticated ones. But actually, I have done my first student t-test manually, my thesis paper. So these were the tools which were available, which have been available till about 10 years back. So these text processing tools, MS Word, Hemingway editor, and all, they also have a way of assessing their readability formulas, which are based on the content, style, format, and organization of the written material. Now, these tools which were there, MS Word, Hemingway editor, they are static matrices. You put in the information, it will do a spell check, it will do a formatting, it will paragraph it for you, it will space it for you. These tools do not have the ability to understand complex grammar, the feelings expressed in the text. Okay? They cannot write an original text within quotes. These tools in existence till some years back cannot write an original text. So what do we have now? We have medical writing tools based on artificial intelligence. And these tools have the advantages that they can write a variety of texts. You just have to give in your command for different audiences. The same topic, you say, I want to write on COVID vaccines, the latest update on COVID vaccines for Ph.D. scholars, you'll get a write-up. Latest update on COVID vaccines for MBBS students, you'll get a write-up. COVID vaccines, latest update for the lay public, for the pharmacists, for the nurses. And believe me, you will get the same topic in a variety of texts catering to the audience. And you would get this in a fraction of a second. These tools are able to retrieve information from multiple sites simultaneously and transfer to another site. And there is a lot of transparency involved because they are based on algorithms. So the tools that you have for medical writing can be classified into three categories, basically. Those which help us in writing assistance. They'll draft it out for you, they'll paragraphs, spell check, etc. Tools which can help in translation, and tools which help in content development. You want to do a systematic review or a meta-analysis or write a review for your protocol. So you would be using different tools. And I'll come to these. So some examples of these tools. Many of these tools are going to be discussed in the next 6 to 7 sessions, which Dr. Sharik has put in. It's there in the program today for you. So examples of writing assistance AI tools: DeepL Write, Ludwig, Grammarly, Quillbot, Trinka, Microsoft Editor. AI tools for translation: DeepL Translator, Google Translate, Bing Translator, Reverso Translation, UDAO Translate, Baidu Translate. Content generation AI tools: ChatGPT. I'm sure all of you are familiar, and many of you may have even tried using it. Copy AI, Techstart, ChatSonic, WriteHere, Writerly. Some of these tools are going to be discussed in the workshop which is going to follow this talk. Just a few lines about ChatGPT. It is because it's the talk of the AI world, especially the academicians, the university professors, the teachers, medical educators are all talking about, even school teachers, about ChatGPT. So just a line to put it in context. It was released on 30th November 2022. GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. It's an open AI limited partnership natural language textual program, and it's freely accessible till date. More about it in your session today. Now, so what is the potential of these AI tools in medical writing? This needs to be covered before we go on to the ethics of these tools. You have to have this background. Now, these AI tools, like I just told you, have been used in regulatory medical writing primarily. Medical writing, 60% of medical writing is happening in the pharmaceutical R&D regulatory world. So what is the potential of these tools in regulatory medical writing? It's always the need which drives the invention. There was a need, and that's why these tools are coming forward. So what was the need? Scarcity of medical writers. In the industry, high attrition rate with employees. Every 2 to 3 years, they keep leaving. And these industries tried freelancing people to write their articles. It didn't work. The writing processes are highly inefficient. The time between writing the first protocol to the final draft, if any of you have written a research protocol, even as a PG, which most of you must have done, and then written your thesis, you know how much time it takes. It takes a lot of time referencing, looking for material, writing and all. So using these tools tends to save 80% of the writer's times. Again, regulatory purposes we are talking about. For regulatory purposes, the written material has to be very uniform and it has to be compliant with what the regulators want. Now, the regulatory documentation guidelines are changing, with development of clinical trials, with development of biologicals, with issues of ethics, with globalization, different country contexts. So the regulatory, it's a very dynamic world. The R&D, the world of pharmaceutical regulations is very, very dynamic. And so these guidelines are changing, not only for pharmaceutical, even we're talking about medical. So yes, pharmaceutical. So keeping up to date with the regulatory guidelines is very difficult. Every year somebody's writing and next year you're having to change. So having an AI tool, a medical writing template helps, because you need to have it's essential to have error-free processes with emergence of data redaction and anonymization guidelines like EMA policy 17 in place. You need to have tools which will decrease errors in what you're submitting to the regulators. Now, medical writing processes are subject to inefficiency and limited resources. I've covered all these: scarcity of writers, uniform and compliance of proof authoring, and low productivity. It takes hours and hours of effort to write one protocol or a document for a regulatory approval. And hours of work means money. It means money for the industry, and it means a decrease in their productivity. AI can save up to 80% of the writer's time while facilitating error-free processes. So it increases the medical writer's efficiency, time from the first initial draft to the final draft. It ensures uniform and compliant authoring, saves more than 30% of the time in quality process of documents, and it automates creation of the documents, enabling writers to use their time more in the scientific analysis. And you can see simultaneously using these AI tools, what all you can get. You can, from the repository of the data, you can generate the protocol, statistical plan, data collection, e-sourcing, clinical study report, tables, lists, figures, patient data sets, putting in the clinical trial registries in the format they want, CTD summary, clinical publications, etc. So much can be done with these tools simultaneously. And there has been an advancement of technology from basic formatting to automated writing with the AI tools. It began with structured content authoring. It went on to content tagging, data structuring tools, automated writing tools, and the future is powerful analytics and document generation tools. But you must remember that this genesis of AI and writing tools, the background, a huge industry requirement. For us, the medical industry requirement, for the world, industry is everywhere. So the market needs have driven the development of these AI tools for writing. We are concerned with medical writing, but these tools are applicable to all, all the industry in existence. So using technology to augment medical writing efficiencies, now you can just have a look. Unstructured, you are using the tools. There is a lot of unstructured data in existence in the web, literature, clinical trials, real world feed, in-house data. So all this data is there. You use the tool, the data would, based on your the keywords you put in and the commands that you give, this data from these different repositories would get classified. It would get a named entity recognition. There would be clustering of this data. Through the neural network, a knowledge graph would be developed. This input data would then get categorized into structured data, and the report would get generated. So, this figure is just to show you, just to give you an idea as to what is happening when you're using these tools. And what is the industry doing now? They are using these tools. There are pilot studies with automation tools have shown reduction in time and cost. Not only is the industry, the pharmaceutical industry and the other industries using the tools which are there in the market, they are also developing their own writing AI tools. Because when you buy a tool from the market, you have to pay. But because the need is so incessant and continuous, many of the companies are developing their own AI writing tools. Now, just to tell you the importance of AI tools in medical writing. You can see the companies building internal capabilities for the industry, the platform technologies, and the partnering activities. So Sanofi has partnered with WHO to generate their CSR generation, leading to 30% reduction in writing time. Synchrogenic acquired ClinGenity for their AI-assisted writing and redaction tools. Pfizer has collaborated with Indegene for the AI and NLP tools for structured content authoring. Just giving you a little taste of what is happening in the pharmaceutical industry. Okay, and what is the approach they are doing to adopt medical writing tools? This approach is not what you would need as a writer, as a research writer, but just for you to know that as you will grow and maybe you get into the medical writing world, there are certain steps because AI technology is evolving into different areas. So what do they do is they identify the key areas, which internal segments would benefit from technology intervention, the writing part, the paraphrasing part, the review part, the regulatory template part. Then they would prioritize the approach, what is needed, what is the path to start adopting technology solutions. They then identify the right technology needed. Do complex energy systems or natural learning systems justify the cost for your organization? Or can a simpler data retrieval structuring solution be enough? So AI programs cost a lot of money, and universities and colleges do not have money even for a anti-plagiarism software. So we are a little behind, but so these are the things which one has to think. And then you execute a pilot project, you see its workability, and then you scale up. So that's how the professional users of AI writing tools go about as they adapt to medical AI writing tools. Okay, so potential of AI tools in medical research writing. You can do all this. I mean, medical writing, specifically research is what I've been asked to speak on. You need to do all these. You have a theme, you're thinking of something, you can put in the clue and say, give me all the material on it. You will get a lot of material. You'll say you want a review, you'll get it. You say you want a summary, you'll get it. You will ask it to frame a research question on what you want to do, you will get it. It will also help you in making some kind of methodology, sample size calculation, results, calculation of your results, tables, figures, graphs. It will even give you the interpretation, even write a coherent, incoherent discussion, as well as a conclusion. And you have tools for referencing now. So all this is possible. Very important, data analysis, detection of pattern trends, actual figures, statistical calculations, and interpretation of the results. So, you can get all that. I will still call it information. You're getting the interpretation, you're getting the discussion, but it's the AI tool which is giving you. So it's actually information. AI tools in medical writing can also can help in fulfilling, the writing skills required for high quality manuscripts for journal submission. Especially so because most of the journals we write to are in English, and English is the second language for most of the researchers. China, India are two prominent countries, Japan, where a lot of research is going on, and English is not the first language. But if you want to submit to an English journal, then these tools can help you in getting the translation. So this is the tool you want in English, you'll get it, and then you ask writing assistant, it'll write for you and give you the final draft. It's in Chinese, it helps you put it in for content generation, writes it, translates it to English, and there you have it. But it is still, I would say, even if the full paper is there, it is still information. Why? We'll just come to that. So what are the limitations of these AI tools in writing? There's something known as, they are not foolproof. Remember, AI tools are based on based on training, based on input data, which are subject to bias and inaccuracies. So till your machine is trained to decrease the error between the actual and the predicted, there is the likelihood that errors can occur, and it is dependent on the quality of the data you're feeding in. So there's a term known as hallucinations with AI tools in writing, mistakes in generated text that are semantically or syntactically plausible, but are in fact incorrect or nonsensical. So you need to be aware about this. Include incorrect, outdated information, produce incoherent phrases. The tool follows instruction. It doesn't actually engage in genuine interaction. You think you're saying it, it's asking you questions back. You think it's a genuine interaction. No, it's not. It's a kind of a automated, trained response of the machine to you. AI-generated text does not evoke human emotions. It doesn't cite sources till you ask it specifically. Now, what is research? I'm going to link up writing, research, and ethics. So I just want to go through what is research. It's creative, systematic work undertaken to increase stock of knowledge, involves collection, organization, analysis of evidence, attention to controlling errors and bias. It may be new work or expansion of past work. And researchers need to practice ethics and a code of conduct while making observations or drawing conclusions. So it's creative work, it's systematic work. It's based on science, organization, analysis, controlling errors and bias. And ethics is very, very important in the whole conduct of the research. Now, how is this, and what is ethics? Ethics are principles of conduct governing an individual or a group, what is good or bad with a moral duty and obligation. And ethics is based on well-founded standards of right and wrong that prescribe what humans ought to do, usually in terms of rights, obligations, and benefits to society, fairness, or specific virtues. Now, as far as research, medical writing goes, ethics is very, very important. You need to have the concept of ethics within you to understand how ethics comes when we are just using AI tools in writing. So ethics in medical writing, there is a whole area of scientific misconduct now, which includes plagiarism, presenting authors' ideas without attribution, fabrication, presenting unsubstantiated facts or data, falsification, changing or selecting certain data to achieve a desired result, misrepresenting facts, authorships, a conflict of interest, protection of subject, patient rights. I mean, not protecting subject and patient rights would be the scientific misconduct, authorship, any other deviations in proposing, conducting, and in the proposing, conducting, and reporting of the study. So these are the aspects which, if any of these are being not followed or are not being followed, this would be considered unethical and scientific misconduct. So now let's see how all of these apply or can apply in when we use AI tools in medical writing. Okay, I'm sorry, the text has moved. So ethics of AI in research writing, issue of privacy and confidentiality. You are going to be using a lot of data, patient data, subject data, and putting it into the AI tool. It may be a free AI tool, whatever, but it's on somebody's platform. Somebody has access to that data on that AI platform. AI platforms are not being given free for users just for the sake of free use. Most of them would be getting access to the data which we are going to be putting onto the on this AI tool that we use. So the data that you're using, you think it's not available, but it is available to a third party. So what will be very, very important, the issues of privacy and confidentiality when you use AI tools are going to be very important. So first of all, we always anonymize data before analyzing. It will become even more important when you feed in this data. Now, why I'm emphasizing this is because normally you may have Excel sheets, where all your data is there with the patient name, the patient code, his age, sex, phone, address. So before you enter into the AI tool, a lot more anonymizing would be required than happens when you're using Excel or other data for your calculations. When you build in permissions from the Institute Ethical Committee would be required. The written informed consent would have to write that you are going to be using this data through an AI tool for processing. It may be available to the AI platform, etc., etc., etc. So you would have to write this in your informed consent form, patient information subject sheet, and what the repercussions of that are going to be. Please remember that data is being used by AI companies because data is money. Okay, so there is a third party that is going to profit here from the patient data, which you have used from the point of view of research, but a third party may benefit. So you need to be aware about this, and your subjects and patients in the studies need to be aware about it. So that's why it's very, very important. Second, plagiarism. You've asked the AI tool to give you the review, you've got it, you've got an idea, but it doesn't give you citations. It doesn't give credit for what is written there, the credit to the right person. Now, so that's number one. Number two, you might also, if your institute has an anti-plagiarism program through which your protocol has to go or your articles have to go. So you would try, normally what is done is you change some words in a sentence. You change conjunction, the, and, of, singular, plural, without changing that meaning and the real sentence. But is that okay? And you can feed that in the AI tool that please change these words and please do this and please see that it cannot be picked up by these anti-plagiarism software. But is that correct? Is that ethical? You need to be aware that anti-plagiarism software for AI writing tools is also being developed simultaneously, which will be able to pick up AI written documents with modification. Okay, the third issue, bias and inaccuracies. So if there was a bias and inaccuracy in the data which was used to train the AI model, that is going to get amplified in your result, in the results and the outcomes that you're going to write. So you have to be very, very aware about this. Authorship. Criteria of authorship is very clear. The International Committee for Medical Editors of Journals is very, very clear on the authorship criteria. Supposing you've asked ChatGPT to write everything, even give you a research theme, medical question, everything, and you've just kind of pottered around it and made minor modifications, who should be the first author? ChatGPT or you? You need to think about it. This issue is going to come out, and the universities all over, the International Committee of Journals, everybody is discussing this and talking about it. So soon you're going to have this also. It's to be considered when you think about ethical issues. Fourth, role of the researcher. Till date, it was the predominant role. What is the extent of the role of the researcher now? A lot of research is tabletop. I mean, you don't need to be in a lab or in the clinical setting to do research. A lot of research is being conducted on data which is already available online. We write a systematic review. We do a meta-analysis. We do so many things of publications which are already there. Now you just need to give some commands and it's going to just come in front. So what is the role of the researcher? Is he the central person or is it that machine and the AI tool which is? So who should be given credit for it? And how much? Another very, very important issue, lack of access. So the AI programs, many of them are free right now, but they may not be as the demand will increase and the quality improves. So many of the AI tools are good ones would cost money. And this will create imbalances between the low income and the high income countries, So the potential imbalances between authors, researchers from low income countries, Africa, Southeast Asia, and the high income countries, US, Europe, Canada, they're all going to increase. Is it ethical? Already we are struggling, the Western world, the developed world has had, with the facilities that they've had, the research facilities, the university structure, they've already had a head start on doing research, quality research, and now they get a head start in the AI tools for writing also. So that means more articles get published by people who have these tools. Their whatever, their rankings, their HR score, whatever score, H index, this index, whatever is coming, their citation in, everything starts increasing. Is it fair? It's an ethical issue. So ICMJE guidelines, they have an authorship criteria. You can go through these, and I want you to see, does ChatGPT qualify based on these guidelines? Okay, further, as we go on to ethical issues, if too much dependency on AI tools in medical research writing is actually may lead to impoverishment of medical thinking. We are already finding that the younger, students who are using automated tools, their critical thinking ability, problem solving ability, there is a difference. They are so used to getting answers with a click of a button away that lateral thinking, integrated thinking, critical thinking is getting affected. So if we get too dependent on these AI tools, medical thinking, we ask it to write an editorial, and it writes. It's pretty okay. I mean, I've been just reading some of the things which are coming, but there is a difference. The creativity of a human writer, actually, when you read an editorial, you want the editor's opinion. You're looking for those keywords. They are not there. It lacks those finer nuances. The human nuances are missing so far, but the tool is getting developed. Chat GPT, you're going to have new versions, and it's going to be developing, and we don't know how far into the human way of thinking it's going to ultimately end. Will it lead to impoverishment of medical thinking, loss of learning? A very, very strong probability, and ease of rewriting. It's so easy to modify a paper which you've already done, change in something, rewrite it in a different way, and you think nobody knows about it. So your numbers of papers, the number game as it's going on, if you're playing a number game, your number of papers may increase. So these are all ethical issues which writers, young writers in the making need to think, researchers, peer review members who are writers, researchers who do peer review for scientific journals, editors, and the whole world. You need to know all these things. You need to be aware about all these so you can catch them on. And already AI tools are being developed to assess many of these. For peer review, AI tools are coming. For editorship, they're already there, I think, some of them, but they are coming. So, and anti-plagiarism for AI tool written article. Okay, a very, very important thing, environmental, it's an ethical issue. Environmental cost of training AI tools. I don't think many of us really think about this, but every time you're using your computer, you're mailing, you're WhatsApping, you're leaving carbon footprints behind. And just to give you, just to put it in context, the carbon footprint of training a single big language model is equal to 300,000 kg of carbon dioxide. This is something I've taken from University of Massachusetts. They had done a study, and this figure has been picked up from there. For a layperson, this is equal to 125 flight trips between New York and Beijing. So that's a lot of carbon footprint just for training one big language model. And the number of language models which are being trained. So the environmental cost of training AI tools is going to be tremendous. And I think in the next couple of years, there's going to be a lot of data on this, which we need to think about. Should AI tools be used in medical research writing? This question is actually redundant. Of course, they have to be tooled. They have to be used, but they have to be used as a tool, like we use a screwdriver or a caliper or a hammer or a nail. They are tools which help the carpenter in his beautiful carpentry work. The work is done by the carpenter. It's his labor of love. So the AI tools will be used. I mean, it's not that whether they should be used. Yes, they should be used. Yes, and they are going to be used. Why not? If it improves efficiency, but they need to be used as a tool and not replace the person. The problem of our time is not artificial intelligence, but what human beings can do with it. Two major pitfalls to be avoided: taking the easy way out and letting AI write the article. Please don't do this. While it seems very unlikely that AI will completely overtake the job of medical writers, it is likely that writers who embrace AI will overtake those who do not. And medical writers, as gatekeepers of accurate scientific medical breakthroughs, need to understand basic concepts of AI in order to avoid overly optimistic claims. Very, very important. And for this, you have to develop your own medical writing skills, your ability to think creatively and think critically. Well, just to end on a lighter note, it is possible that in the near future, scientific papers will be written by machines and reviewed by reviewing machines and checked for plagiarism by machines, all driven by computer programs. Let's hope that published papers will be continued to be read by humans. And with that, I want to thank everybody for their patient hearing. I'm sorry for having exceeded the time limit. It's happened because of that wastage of time due to the technology hitch. So I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a thought-provoking presentation. Ma'am, we have a couple of questions for you from the delegate side. We will take up a few questions of them, take a few of them right now, and rest of them we will upload it later on the website as FAQs. Ma'am, the first question is there any way to differentiate the writing in scientific paper by humans or AI?
Yes, thank you for the question. And yes, there is. So far there is, okay? Currently there is. The scientific writing which is written is a little static. It is the finer nuances of human writing are not there. And somebody who's experienced in scientific writing can make out that this document is being written by a machine. So you have to have had that experience of having read a lot of papers written by humans to be able to differentiate. But yes, we can see, you can make out, and if you go on to ChatGPT and ask it to write a paper or a summary of an abstract, you write a summary and you ask somebody to write a summary, and you ask ChatGPT to write a summary of a paper, you would be able to appreciate the differences. So far you can, but in the near future, because these models are being updated, how far ahead they'll be able to develop AI writing tools which are akin to the human way of thinking. That's the challenge which the researchers are working. So right now you can make out, future only time will tell.
Ma'am, the second question is, recently many scientific papers have mentioned ChatGPT as the co-author. How you see it, especially from authorship contribution point of view and authorship order?
Okay. Well, if ChatGPT has been used, I think all AI tools now, the way they are going, need to be acknowledged. And because ChatGPT is being used in such a big way, it needs to be, I think personally that it needs to be acknowledged as an author. And whether it should be the first or second author would be dependent on what ChatGPT has been used. And that will be dependent on the honesty of the person who's writing the paper. If you use ChatGPT for generating your question for majority of the work, give it the first authorship. And I'm sure this is going to come about. I am quite sure this will happen in the next few years. But so you would have to acknowledge we are already writing what author one has done, what author two has done. There would have to be a lot of detailing, and the International Journal Committee of Medical Education, Medical Journal Editors is already working on this criteria. You would see it all coming about very soon. The criteria of authorship where AI tools have been used.
Ma'am, final question is, what type of work will a medical writer do in the pharmaceutical industry?
Pardon, what type of?
Work will a medical writer perform in the pharmaceutical industry?
Okay, a medical writer has many roles in the pharmaceutical industry. First is clinical study reports. First is protocol writing, clinical study reports, building up the the dossier for the regulators. It's a huge task. I mean, every regulator in each country has a different requirement. So when you're putting when you for a clinical trial phase 1 dossier, it has to be built up with all the documentation needed for phase 1, then for phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Then when your drug is approved, another dossier with all the data has to be put in, investigation new drug application. There's a dossier which has to be written. And till date, it was people in the industry, they were writing, but with the availability of these tools, and the industry is developing templates and tools which are catering to them. So regulatory documents, clinical study reports, clinical protocol writing for conducting, and we are conducting global protocols, protocols which are multi-centric, 25 countries protocols. So those clinical protocols have to be approved by regulators in 25 countries. So the regulatory aspect. Then in the industry, a medical writer also has to develop content for training the medical representatives, medical representatives have a role that they go and train or sensitize the doctors in the periphery, in the field setting. So they require training. They do not come from a pharmacology or a medical background. So medical writers would be building the content, digital content, print content, to train medical representatives in the country, in the industry. Then building up content for patient, the drug inserts. There is standard information there, what should go on, what should not. Then patient safety monitoring and pharmacovigilance reports, PSUR, periodic safety update reports have to be generated and sent for 4 years after a new drug has come in the market. And that is getting extended to 10 years for some products, for some biologicals and all. So generating those reports, so medical writer in the industry has a huge role. It's a full-time profession. And of course, the pharmaceutical industry might also want to educate the public, and remember, we are living in a digital world, online resources. So building offline resources, more than that, building writing content for online resources, websites, Instagrams, whatever, wherever, whatever the so that is even more difficult actually than writing text in hard copies, because online material requires more thinking, more clarity, lesser unambiguity. Any minor mistake or a deviation from what it should be gets amplified, and it reaches hundreds and millions of people instantaneously. So medical writers have a very, very big role in the industry.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for clarifying all the queries. Here we come to the end of the first talk for the day.
Thank you very much.